town of Briagolong, south of the divide. A fine log cabin, it's one of a kind, built by veterans from both world wars. 1949 they opened the doors.
G'day, welcome to the Briagolong RSL Log Cabin. Let's have a look around at this unique and historical structure. As a structure, it's sturdy. It stands to protect, built in solidarity and with deep respect. The cabin has soul. Its walls speak of war, with portraits of heroes and relics in store. As an RSL venue, it's rustic and warm, a place for friendships forged from the wars. There's no place for pokies or neon array, just a two-up game each Anzac Day.
The cabin was really important to my family. I have many, many happy memories of coming here with my parents. You always felt welcome here. I know it was very important to Dad. He was part of a team along with Charlie Graham, Jim Kelly, all those people. We'd all come here with just one big happy family, really.
They were fantastic men, those men. They really were.
And the ladies, I'm not quite sure where from, but the morning and afternoon teas were just brilliant.
Here we have Navy Corner. We're very fortunate to have this plaque off HMAS Voyager. It was ashore being repaired when the ship was sunk, and it was recovered by Snowy Larkin after he returned from his survivor's leave.
And he wasn't too impressed with the Australian government who promised them a real feast on December the 25th after those 5 awful months in New Guinea. And all they got was a packet of boiled lollies. And he said, oh, my men were howling with laughter as they all lined up to get their packet of lollies from a grateful government.
A very interesting item is this letter from the citizens of Briagolong to David McIntosh, who was the first local to enlist in 1914. It wishes him well in the performance of his duties as a British soldier and a speedy return to his native land. Unfortunately, he died at Gallipoli. He
used the diaries as an outlet because he couldn't really mix with his men. It sounds ridiculous today, but he couldn't. He had no one to talk to.
Nobody thought of those things, did they? There was no repatriation for the men. There was no helping them get back together again.
When he came home, he said, oh, it is wonderful to be back in Australia. I can now sleep and I don't have to start at every sound and reach immediately for my Tommy gun.
This is a Japanese battle ensign that was brought back from Borneo by Bill Roberts, one of our inaugural members. Its display used to upset certain members, but as a prize of war, its display was quite legitimate.
This sword here has quite a history. It was presented to Dad after the Battle of Gona by one of his men who found it on the body of Dad's opposite in the Japanese army. And he presented it to Dad, who accepted it with great pleasure because it was a real honour to get it.
is a short story, a glimpse, just a peek. How a cabin helped veterans get back on their feet. They were battle-worn, changed, living with the ghost. No peace and freedom until their last post. 1946, when the sub-branch was formed, local veterans held meetings in the town hall. Soldiers, pilots, men of the sea, shared experience made them more at ease. At the close of business, the men made time to enjoy a few ales, catch up and unwind. Shire was quick to lay down the law, stating dry meetings only in the town hall. The veterans obeyed, drinking was discreet, adjourn after meetings to a truck in the street. Winter set in and the shopkeeper cried, "There's room out the back, lads, let's move inside." High on their agenda was to build their own base, a refuge, a sanctuary with plenty of space. They had little money but plenty of brawn, support from the town, their project was born. Bushmaster Gillio had built a few huts, crosscuts sawn, no nails, bolts or nuts. We'll build a log cabin, we'll build it for free. We're an army of workers, we'll mill our own trees. Finding of the land and carefully drawn plans saw the veterans in work with blistered hands. Disciplined, proud, and sleeping more sound, healing had begun on that common ground.
The log cabin was a vision of Hugh Challen and Charlie Graham, and it was built using the skills of community members like Harry Milner and Bill Gillio, as well as a bunch of other veterans and friends, and a massive community effort to literally drag the timber out of the bush and build this cabin by hand.
Where we've got a currajong tree here these days, there used to be a Gallipoli or Aleppo pine. It was planted from seeds propagated from lone pine at Gallipoli. It was tended to by an old member, Roy French, who killed it with kindness by overwatering it. After it died, we painted the remnants of it green. Roy, being pretty well blind, failed to notice the difference. Very thoughtful of us.
The cabin was just a wonderful place. She would always respect Dad's need to come down here.
I'm pleased it was here. It's like a men's shed, I guess, because the fellas all came and they worked together and they had a drink or two on the way out. It needs to be preserved.
The log cabin's got a really important role. One of the main things is that it's a place where we can look after veterans and ex-service personnel within the community. It's a place for their family and their friends to come and gather and get a lot of support. It's also an important gathering place for the broader community.
Log log cabin served 70, a shelter for veterans from 10 wars since then. Continue to work, continue to care, with families of fallen, lest they despair.
Lest we forget.
Lest they despair.
It was really only in my later years when I typed the diaries that I realised just what he'd been through, and hence my enormous respect for every serviceman and woman in every theatre of war in which Australia has participated.
We have fewer veterans and ex-service people as members than in the past, and it'd be great to think that at some time in the future we wouldn't have any more wars and we wouldn't have any veteran members in the RSL. That would be a great place to be. This cabin has recognised historical value due to its unique character. It belongs to the community and it's our privilege and responsibility to take care of it. We love this place.
Brothers in arms and comrades at home, take care of each other, take care of their own. Surviving the fallen weighs like a debt, lest we forget.
Lest we forget. Lest we forget. Lest we forget. Lest we forget. In the town of Briagolong, south of the Divide,